Hello, my name's Gavin. This is Genre Books. It's Tuesday, it's Tag Tuesday, and this is the Spoiler Booktag. This tag was created some time ago by Gunpowder Fiction Plot, resurrected by Jess Bookgirl TV, and I was tagged by Pat at Book Chat with Pat and by KCR Reads. There are 9 prompts. Let's get going. Prompt number 1. What do you consider a spoiler? I think really anything more than is on the blurb on the back of the book. I have to guess that the author has some say over what goes on the back of the book, and if it was anything too spoilerish, they would want to veto that. Definitely giving away the end or a significant character death, I think, would be a spoiler. Setting out the story isn't. Talking about stuff in the first act, not so much. Prompt number 2. Does the genre you're reading impact what you consider to be a spoiler? Yes, probably. I mean, the absolutely verboten kind of spoiler is giving away the end of a detective story or a mystery. With horror or science fiction, you sometimes have to set the scene a little bit more. It may be, if it's set in a world which is not like our own, you may need to explain why things might be happening. Setting the scene for something, explaining the world building is not a spoiler, although some people do consider it to be. Prompt number 3. All the best bits are in the trailer. Sometimes a synopsis can be too detailed. Do you research books prior to reading them, or do you prefer to know nothing about a book? I prefer to know nothing about a book sometimes. It's certainly nice to be surprised once in a while. You pick something up speculatively and see where it takes you. But I have read too many books or discovered too many books because of reading up about another book or reading up about a particular subject that I can't say I like to know nothing. I like to discover books. I then like to read them. But yeah, occasionally, just occasionally, I'll just blind taste a book. Prompt number 4. Sometimes the introduction or translator's notes can spoil an ending. Has this ever happened to you? I think it has, and is probably a Penguin Classics introduction. They can sometimes assume that you've read the book. And this is a bit of a problem with the classics. Can you spoil something that's 100, 200 years old? I mean, obviously the answer is yes to someone who doesn't know about it, but at the same time, you can't not talk about books for centuries because someone hasn't read it yet. Prompt number 5. Name a time somebody spoiled a novel for you. I honestly can't think of a particular time where someone has spoiled a book for me intentionally or specifically. And I've told this story before on the channel, I'm sure, but I think this is my favourite story of spoiling. Fortunately, I wasn't caught out by it. The film The Usual Suspects. I had just been to see it in the cinema, and as I was heading home, someone had defaced a poster advertising the film with a Sharpie, an arrow pointing to one of the main characters of the film, saying it was him. That's just pure vindictiveness. And I'm sure that a few strokes of a pen spoil a movie for a lot of people. But there we go. There's a difference between letting something slip and maliciously ruining someone's potential enjoyment. Prompt number 6. Have you ever spoiled a novel for somebody else? Probably. So I would think quite probably, now that I've started doing booktube. I wouldn't if I was speaking with someone. But I do talk about books, and I'm sure I have given away plot points, even though I may have said I will be talking about this book. It may have spoiled something for somebody, for which I apologise. Prompt number 7. If spoilers ruin novels, are there some authors or genres you can't reread? I don't reread very often. I don't think I reread anything last year. I don't think I'm going to reread anything this year. So I'm not entirely sure this question applies to me too much. But having just started reading Agatha Christie's Miss Marple novels, I can't really see myself rereading those. Everything is in the discovery, the ending of those books. It may be interesting to reread one just the once to see if there are clues that I could have picked up on. I would cheerfully admit I haven't guessed any of them right yet. But I don't see too much of a pleasure in rereading a detective story. Having said that, there are some particularly hard-boiled detective novels that I read back in my university years where I can't actually remember who did do it. So those might be fun just to read again, to rediscover them, rather than to re-experience. Prompt number 8. When reviewing, are you spoiler free, and does this limit your ability to discuss? I think it would limit your ability to discuss, and I think that as long as you flag something saying there will be spoilers, you're in the clear. I think I'm doubly in the clear anyway, because I don't really read any new books. And I think the age of the book is very germane to spoilers. You can't spoil something that has been out there in the world for decades. I mean, obviously you can spoil it for somebody, but at the same time you're not spoiling it for the artist. Let's put it that way. If I was to review a book that has just come out and explained all the plot points, it may discourage someone from reading it. And that's going to have a real world impact to that author. If I talk about a Charles Dickens novel or an Edgar Rice Burroughs novel, and I give away a few plot points, the books have been out long enough that I think any element of surprise may have dissipated, and B, I'm really not harming their bottom line. There is, in some spaces of booktube, a mad rush to be the first to review the latest novel by a very popular author. If you've managed to get that book on day one and read it all the way through that night, I don't think you should be talking about the plot points in a video you release the following morning. You are at that point essentially representing the book to your audience. You are previewing it. If you want to review something, take a time to consider it properly, flag it appropriately and talk about it in depth, but not within the first week of release. And prompt number 9 is to tag some others, so I will do. They'll be below the line here. Thank you for your time, and until next time.